Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about integers, specifically how to plot integers on a number line, how to add and subtract integers, and multiplying and dividing integers. So the first question you may have is, what is an integer? So an integer is a whole number. We can think of integers to be positive and negative counting numbers, and zero. So for example, we have a set right here indicated by these curly braces, and the dot 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 means it goes on forever. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, but on the other side of 0 we have -1, -2, -3, -4. So this is going to be the set of integers. We don't include fractions in this set. So we can plot integers on a number line. We could have 0 right in the middle, and the negative integers go off to the left, and the positive integers go off to the right. And one thing to note is this: the larger the negative number is, the smaller the number. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is -3 is bigger than -4. All right, so -3 is bigger than -4 because as you move to the right of the number line, the numbers get bigger and bigger and bigger, going off to infinity. So yeah, the larger the negative number, the smaller it actually is. We can think about positive and negative numbers in terms of lots of different things. I'm going to give you guys some analogies in a different slide, but I like to think about money, right? So, for example, if you're paid $3, that would be indicated by a +3. But if you take $3 away, that's indicated by a -3. So that's one way to think about it. Now let's practice plotting some numbers on the number line, some integers. So we're given a blank number line and we want to figure out where 0 is. So typically when you're given something like this, 0 doesn't have to be in the middle, it really doesn't, but typically we put it in the middle just out of habit. So it looks like this is going to be the middle because to the right of 0 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and to the left of 0 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 0 is exactly in the middle, and we can list our positive numbers to the right of 0, increasing. So the next counting number after 0 is 1, followed by 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that's all that fits here. And then to the left, -1, and then -2 is even smaller, taking $2 away. Taking $3 away is even smaller than that, taking 4 away, taking 5 away, and taking 6 away. So that's our number line, and to plot these numbers, we can just indicate where they are with a little circle. So for 0, I just find 0 on the number line and put a little circle there. -4, I find -4 on the number line, put a little circle there. And 2 is right here. So that is how you can plot those numbers on a number line. So we can use the number line to add or subtract integers. So number 1, you guys are probably pretty familiar with this. The plus sign means to go to the right, and the minus sign means to go to the left. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at 2, that's our first number here, and we're going to move to the right, indicated by the plus sign, 3 units. Okay, so if I start at 2, I want to move to the right 3 units, so I hop over 1, 2, 3. And my new number, my answer is 5, because that's where I end up after hopping to the right 3 units. So my answer is 5. All right, what about 3 minus 1? Well, this time we're starting at 3, so I'll mark 3 right here. And the subtraction sign means go to the left. So it says go to the left 1 unit. So from 3, we go to the left 1 unit, and we end up at 2. All right, let's try some positives and negatives mixed in. So this next one says, hey, start at -1. So I'm going to put my dot at -1. And then it says move to the right 4 units. So I start at -1, I move 1, 2, 3, 4, and I end up at 3. So that's my answer here. -1 plus 4 is 3. You can imagine, you know, taking away $1 from $4, right? So that's that. The next one is 1 minus 5. So we're going to start at +1. Since there's no sign in front of it, but we understand that to be positive if that's the case. So we start at 1, and it says take away 5. So we're going to hop to the left 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we end up at -4. So that's our answer there. I want to show you guys another method that I think is pretty fun to add and subtract integers. So what I'm going to represent as a hot coal is a positive sign, positive numbers. And what I'm going to represent as an ice cube is negative numbers. And a hot coal and an ice cube together make 0. All right, so that's what you need to know for this little exercise. So how do we represent this guy in the pot with hot coals and ice cubes? Well, it says that we start with +4, which is indicated by a hot coal. So we have 4 hot coals, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what we want to add on to it is 2 ice cubes, right? Indicated by the negative sign. So we add on 2 ice cubes. And what's going to happen is the zeros that we see are going to cancel out. So this goes to 0, this goes to 0, and we're left with 2 hot coals, which means +2. So that's our answer here, is +2. That's pretty neat, right? Let's try another one. So we start with 3 ice cubes. So 1, 2, 3. And I want to add 2 coals. So 1, 2. Cancel out my zeros, so this makes 0, this makes 0, and I'm left with 1 ice cube, so that is -1. We can also think about this with the number line, right? You can always go back to the number line. If we're at -3 and I hop to the right 2 units, I go 1, 2, and I end up at -1. So that is that. Okay, so this one, we have 3 ice cubes, and we want to take away 6 hot coals. All right, so in our pot, we have 1, 2, 3 ice cubes, but we don't have 6 hot coals to take away. So we need to introduce them by adding a bunch of zeros in here. So what I mean by that is if I add 6 hot coals to the bottom, or maybe I'll add them over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to make sure to keep this balanced by adding the ice cube so that this is all really 0. All right. So I want to take 6 hot coals away from 3 ice cubes, and so what I can do is just take them away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what am I left with? I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ice cubes. So that's represented by -9. Again, you can think about your number line here. If I start at -3 and I hop 6 units to the left, I'm going to be at -9. All right, so we have 1 minus a -3. So we have a hot coal, 1, and we want to take away 3 ice cubes. But we don't have 3 ice cubes to take away, so we need to introduce them over here by adding 0. So if I have 3 ice cubes, to make that 0, I need to add 3 hot coals. So 1 hot coal, take away 3 ice cubes, I want to take away all of these ice cubes, and what's left is 1, 2, 3, 4 hot coals. So our answer is positive 4. So you might not want to do this every time you're working on this on ALEKS or wherever practicing this. So I'm going to show you some shortcuts. So I'm showing you a bunch of different ways to add and subtract integers. The first way was the number line. The second way was the witch's brew, the pot. And the third way is just, it's kind of like rote memorization, but sometimes you need that, like when you're in a hurry to do your homework or whatever. So let's talk about this. So here's the first shortcut. If we have the same signs and we're adding or subtracting, we want to add the numbers and we want to take the sign of the numbers. So for instance, 3 plus 5. These are both positive numbers, so we can use a shortcut because they have the same sign. They're both positive, 3 and 5. So what we do is we add them. 3 plus 5 is 8, and we take the sign of the numbers. Well, they're both positive, so this is just a positive 8. We don't have to write the positive in front of the 8. Okay, negative 2 minus 6. So these numbers, 2 and 6, have the same sign. They're both negative. So we add them together. 2 plus 6 makes 8, and we take the sign. And the sign here is negative. So this is going to be negative 8. Again, you can think about your number line for all of these. If we start at negative 2 and we hop 6 units to the left, we're going to be at negative 8. Right here, we have 2 positive numbers, so those are the same signs, so we can add them. 1 and 8 makes 9, and it's positive since both of those are positive. Negative 7 minus 3, they're the same signs. Both 7 and 3 are negative, so we add them together. 7 and 3 make 10, and we take the sign, and the sign here is negative. So that's our first shortcut. Now, if we have opposite signs, we're going to subtract the numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. So you always want to subtract a bigger number from smaller number. I'm going to show you what I mean. So for instance, if we have negative 6 plus 2, 6 minus 2, so we're subtracting the numbers, 6 minus 2 is 4, and we want to take the sign of the bigger number. Now, 6 is bigger than 2, so we steal its sign. It has a negative in front of it, so we're taking its sign. It's negative 4. That's our answer. Again, go back to your number line, visualize it in your head. If we're at negative 6 and we hop over 2 units to the right, I'm going to have to be at negative 4. All right? Okay, let's do the next one. We have 3 minus 9. So again, you're going to subtract just like you would normally. 9 minus 3, bigger number minus smaller number. That's 6. Take the sign of the bigger number. Well, in front of 3 is an implied positive sign. In front of 9 is a negative sign. And 9 is a larger number than 3, right? We're just kind of like taking, you know, just the number itself. We're not considering signs. So since 9 is bigger than 3, we're taking the negative sign from it, right? And so that's our answer here, negative 6. Another way you can write 3 minus 9 is negative 9 plus 3, right? Because 3 is positive, as it is here, it's just not written, and 9 is negative, as it is here. So that's another way you can write it. You can think of being at negative 9 on the number line and going 3 units to the right. So our answer here is negative 6. Next one is negative 1 plus 3. So subtract the numbers. 3 minus 1 is 2. Take the sign of the bigger one. What's bigger, 1 or 3? 3 is bigger, and 3 has a positive in front of it, so we're taking its sign. So our answer here is positive 2. Of course, you don't have to write the plus in front of it, but 2 minus 1. So we subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. Take the sign of the bigger. What's bigger, 2 or 1? 2 is bigger, and the 2 has a plus, implied plus sign in front of it, so this is going to be positive 1. All right, so some more, so that was our second shortcut. Our third shortcut is if we see double negatives next to each other, it becomes a positive. If we see a positive and a negative next to each other, it becomes a negative. So let's do some practice here. What you want to do whenever you see two signs next to each other is you want to rewrite it first, okay? So right here, I see two signs next to each other, a positive and a negative. And we can see right here that if we have a positive and a negative next to each other, it becomes a negative. We can literally replace it with a negative. So I'm going to rewrite this, and this is going to be negative 40. The positive and negative make a negative, and then 21. And then we can apply our shortcut from here. So this shortcut, we have same signs. Both of these numbers have a negative in front of them. So we add the numbers. So 40 plus 21 is going to be 61. And then we take the sign, which is negative. So that's our answer here. That's our final answer. Now here we have two negatives next to each other. And by this rule right here, two negatives next to each other makes a positive. So I can rewrite this as 4 plus 8. And we know what 4 plus 8 is. It's 12. 8 and 4 make 12. All right, we have a negative and a positive. So a negative and a positive becomes a negative. So we have 6 minus 20. Now we have opposite signs, so we subtract. 20 minus 6 is 14. Take the sign of the larger. The larger is 20, right? 6 is positive because there's an implied positive in front. 20 is negative because there's a negative in front. 20 is bigger, not considering signs. So we take 20's sign, and that's negative. So our answer is negative 14. Finally, this one, we have double negatives that can become a positive. So negative 8, those double negatives become a positive 10. Now we have opposite signs, so we subtract. 10 minus 8 is 2. 10 minus 8 is 2. Take the sign of the bigger. What's bigger, 8 or 10? 10 is bigger, and 10 has a plus in front of it, so our answer is going to be positive. All right, so let's do a few of these problems just to practice. Let's look at this one right here. We have negative 10 minus a negative 6. The first thing you want to do is get rid of the double signs. If you see double signs, get rid of them by using our shortcuts. So double negatives make a positive, so I can rewrite this as negative 10 plus 6. And now I can say, well, I have opposite signs. I have a negative 10 and a positive 6, so I subtract the two. 10 minus 6 is 4. I take the sign of the larger. The larger number out of 10 and 6 is 10, and it has a negative sign, so I take its sign. So our answer here is negative 4. Awesome. Let's do, let's do this one right here. So we have 17 plus a negative 4. Double signs, using the shortcut, a positive and a negative make a negative. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 17 minus 4. And that's going to be 12. No, that's not going to be 12. 13, sorry. So our answer is 13. Okay, let's look at this one right here. So we have negative 10 plus a negative 10. First things first, get rid of the double signs next to each other. So a positive and a negative by the previous slide, a positive and a negative makes a negative. So with that in mind, these two can just be condensed to a negative. So this becomes negative 10 minus 10. We have the same signs. We have two negatives. So same signs, we add. 10 and 10 make 20, and we take the sign. Negative 20 is our answer. All right, so we talked about adding and subtracting integers, and the next thing I want to talk about is multiplying and dividing. This is pretty straightforward. When you have a negative times a positive, it's negative, and when you have a positive times a positive, it's positive, and a negative times a negative is positive. So as long as you can remember these things, you can divide and multiply integers pretty easily, because you're just multiplying the numbers and like figuring out what the sign is. So let's do some examples. So our first example, we have negative 3 times negative 6. Well, we know 3 times 3 is 18, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 18. Number 2, negative 2 times 3 is a negative 6 because a negative times a positive is negative. Now, if you see something like this, this isn't subtraction. If you have a parentheses grouped around a number like this with no sign between the number on the outside and the parentheses, this means multiplication. Okay, so this is 4 times negative 3. That's going to be negative 12. A positive times a negative is negative. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Positive times negative is negative. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. 7 times 5 is 35. A positive times a positive is positive. And negative 8 times negative 5 is a positive 40. Negative times a negative is positive. All right? And that is all I have for integers. Hopefully this made sense to you guys. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.